Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. So I had somebody submit me a save to solve some issues he's had with my train system. So let's see what we can do about it. This is the first time I'm opening this. So I have no idea what I'm going to be looking at. And I should probably, all right, let's fix the mods first. Right. All right, so first of all, I want my picker. It actually should be fine to just keep everything enabled. Okay. Let's give it a couple seconds. There you go. Alright, so... Alright. Ooh, nice big factory. Okay, so... Outpost. Here's the depot. Alright. I think this is actually the old versions of the remotes, so that's something I'm going to fix for you. There was an issue where do you have the... Alright, that's the global memory, that's good. And I'm going to assume that at this point you have only one of those. Do you have any other depot? Outpost. That's probably all solar. Right, you have only one depot as far as I can see. Right. Okay. So the issue with this setup was that the providers for... Don't know where you have these, if you have these anywhere. Right, because you can see over here that you have memory for... Yeah, and it's empty. Right. You haven't, as far as I can see, you haven't connected the data banks to the global network. So let's do that real quick. Right, so I'm just going to place these over here. Could place these here, I guess, but I'll just put these here so you can easily delete them and move them if you want. Right. So what these do is these provide all these memories that you have in every outpost and your depot and everywhere with the data that they need. And you have mods on, so I suppose that it's fine to use commands. I mean, if not, you can just do everything that I'm doing anyway, but let's use a command, which is the script that I need. All right. Let's see. Here we go. And this is the script. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is important if you're playing modded games, right? And what this does, it basically updates your data bank. And need some space for that. Just go up here. Right. If any empty anywhere. Yeah. Up here. Okay. Do you happen to have any legs? I suppose you use the car for travel purposes. Okay. So do you happen to have any packs in the tray in the base? Okay, so this is a problem. You have trains in here that can't be in here. This train is blocking this train from leaving, for example, right? I mean, you don't want the train to leave anyway. And this train, this I suppose happens when you print the blueprint over this base. You end up with extra trains here, and especially this half existing train here tells me that that's exactly what you did. The same with this train over here. It's blocking the other trains that might want to go into the circle, right? It stops them from moving, and this train cannot leave the station until these trains are all gone, actually. So I'm just going to use this train to get over here. And this train has not been built yet. Alright, we're moving manually. Hey, can you please go up there? Yeah, okay. Just can't go in because of this train. That's fine. I just walk the rest of the way. Oh, what's with this anyway? It's on automatic. Why is this one stopping here? Yeah. Why is it red? It shouldn't be red. Well. There you go. I don't know what that was about. That was strange. Very strange. Right, and as you can see, the train is stuck here because it can't enter the depot because of these trains occupying space they shouldn't be occupying. So let's just delete these trains real quick. That's the train in the depot. And let's see, do you have any? Based on this thing over here, I think you managed to catch an unlucky version in between. Like I think I did this in the evening one day, and the next day in the morning I noticed that I'd fucked up my print down here. And I think I fixed some other stuff, so you managed to catch a version in between. So you definitely need to update your blueprint book to the most recent version. And at the end of this video, I will also quickly show you the beginnings of the next version, which is not going to touch the depot itself. So you can actually just keep using this, except update it. Right, so first of all, let's send you out here. And I was going to use this for the script. And it's not working. Why? Okay, I have no idea why it didn't work the first time. It's very strange. There's definitely some stuff that's probably more based. This is from me, I think. I don't think you have these items in here, but that's fine. We'll just copy these down here. So this goes in here. This goes in here. Let's see. Right, by the way, is this actually... Yeah, I know I use a mod that increases the rows that I have in my constant combinators. That's why, right? I'm going to give you the save with the mods as they are, and I suggest that you load them with the mods. Check what you like or dislike about it. And or should I use the script maybe without settings? Mod settings. So larger constant combinator, this is the one, right? This one gives me more rows in each constant combinator, which is why I have so few combinators here, right? Because they all have a lot of space. And this actually shows me that indeed my script does work with mods properly, so that's nice. Right, that's the 5, that's the 10. It's all in here. And this ought to be the 20. This is the 50. Ah, damn it. 50. There we go. Right. Then we have the 100. This is the 100. Then we have the 200. And the 2000, which is just one item, but for completeness sake, to be safe. Okay, so I've updated your data banks with all the items that you currently have in the game, and there's a second data bank for all the visual signals, but for these I have not had a use yet. I'm not going to add this just yet, because like I said, I have not had any use for it so far. Right, so quick explanation. What happens here is that these guys, as long as they're empty, they want the info, so they keep using the I signal to request that info. The problem with the I signal, and this is something that I fixed in one of the, I don't know, a week and a half ago maybe. I fixed that by changing the signals in these remotes here, so the I signal wouldn't appear there. Because it made more sense to have the I signal here as a request for the information than to have it up here. The info signal, right? Because, yeah. All right. So the next step would be to connect this to the global network. And as you can see, the I signal or the info signal keeps flashing on the green wire, so we need to connect that too. And there we go. Suddenly all the memories are updated, right? Suddenly everywhere you have the memories, including the depot, for example, right? So now we can see how this chain each is loaded. Okay. Next step. Now the problem, usually this is not an issue. That's why it took me a while to notice that with the I signal, the way the setup works, there are times where you can cause your remotes to lock up with an endless loop in these three combinators here. That makes no sense and usually doesn't happen, but under specific circumstances it can happen. So I've changed the entire setup as far as that is concerned. We still have a train in here. Didn't I move you out? Ah, it's in the station. It's fine. It's not in the way. Okay, so we're going to replace this depot. And something else I have added, if you look at what's green, we have some buffer chest connected to the loadouts here, which means that depending on how you use your mall, where you get your items from, that's just ore. Where's your mall? Okay, this is your ammo shop, I guess. Rocket fuel. Chips. Science. This is an all-in-one science project, I guess. All right. This could be the mall, I suppose. Parts of it, anyway. More mall here. Ah, okay, I see. I see. Is this the modular? Is this Carefree's modular mall or something like that? I feel like I recognize it, but I might be wrong. Alright, so you've definitely got your production going for stuff. Right. Solid, solid. Yeah, and basically these buffer chests, they prepare a full loadout for your default loadouts, which means you can always get those equipped really quick. Right, if you send the signal home that you want one of these, it should just take a couple seconds to load your train. And I need to remove these. And let's keep close watch on what else is red. Ah, yes, 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 yes. All right. More stuff. here. I think that's it. Fast inserter is in the way. That's probably just a twisted inserter. And let's remove you from existence for the moment. Do you already have nuclear processing? I don't think you're mining uranium yet, are you? Right, uranium is a huge, big fucking relief. You might want to get in that quickly if you can help it. Getting that nuclear fuel running, such a boon. But yeah, whatever. All right. I basically, in my case, I tend to get the nuclear fuel production up at about the same time that I get my bots running, and that's basically when I start using this system. So I basically get nuclear fuel as quickly as I get trains, you could say, right? Okay, so fast inserters, turn. You just a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And that's okay. Now we should be fine to copy paste. Too close to existing rail signal. Ah, there was an issue here. Yeah, currently you still want to check the 0th video of the playlist every few days, like anytime you think of it, because I am still making changes constantly. Yeah, there you go. Didn't have to hold down shift. Everything should be perfect now. And you can see these chests make a huge difference in getting your trains fitted out and things. Right, so this train is going to be fed. Can they use... I forget if it's still possible to use... No, it's not possible. Oh wait, rocket fuel is there. I'm stupid. I'm actually going to... Yeah, whatever, it's fine. Right, let's have you right out here. And it'll then try to go into the depot. And while we're here, we can actually just add more depot trains. This is the one. So we want to keep one of these free for the artillery trains, right? So if you have space for one train here, then you want 3 more trains. And that's basically 4 builder trains in total that you want. You do not want to fill up all the spaces so that the artillery trains have the ability to actually go in here. And each of these is going to give a little bit of fuel, and each of these we're going to activate. Next we are going to enable the There we go. We are going to adjust the loadout over here. I'm going to leave the, or let's see. I can always call for landfill later. Let's just remove it. Speeds up the loading, right? Let's remove this for now too. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it over here. And that's just so that if I, for whatever reason, if I replace the right, there we go. Bots are doing the job. Nice and good. Alright, you ignored chunk alignment, that's fine though. It's not like it's a must. So it's now loading the first loadout. I'm going to take the PAX train and I'm going to visit your outposts one by one and update those. Oh, there is... crap. Where is it going? Outpost setup. That one is currently still on. And in that case, we will go up there too. Passenger present. All right, and PAX Depot. All right, PAX Depot, passenger present. Right. Yeah, I can see that this is still the old system. I'm guessing that you do not have artillery trains being, artillery wagons being made. That's something that you need with this blueprint if you want to use the outpost system at all. Artillery trains. Yes, here. Oh! Of course, I'm stupid. Right, let's have you removed for the moment. There you go. And let's see. Step 2. Fast and set in the way, that's most likely this guy. That should be it. Let's have you deleted. Step 2. Right. Ideally, when updating blueprints, you should be able to place the new blueprint without having to hold down shift. If you have to hold down shift, something somewhere is in the way and you should check what that is, as it might disable your systems otherwise. So this down here is just a quick pack system update, and this is not the final version of it. Basically what happens is this combinator is used to turn on there you go, yeah. It's used to turn on the pack station, and by using a blueprint that I have Where is it? It's part of the remotes, I think. Yeah, here. These two. Packs disabled and packs enabled. You can use these two blueprints across the map and basically change the state of this guy to turn on the pack station at a distance, and it'll turn itself off. No. As soon as the train docks it, it turns itself off. And with this you can turn it back on. What that means is if you send you to the depot, gotta undo this real quick. There we go. We turn this guy on, and this simply means that by the time that we are done doing here whatever we want, our PAX train will have come back, because the trains, small trains, are set up in such a way. This one now. Yeah, you can see here 30 seconds are passing, and then it will automatically go to whatever PAX station is active. And currently this one is active. I'm not sure if that's the closest, depending on... it might head to one of these. Well, that's not the important part right now. We can always build a new one here. For us, that's no issue. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to call for our number 2. Once again, we're moving the items that we don't have yet. And we're going to get rid of the rails as well. There we go. And we already have trains waiting to leave the station. So we were actually the closest. So you can see here this train is back, and it's just going to wait here until 30 seconds. You can change this to 5 seconds if you want, right? Until 30 seconds have passed and I'm in the train. And meanwhile, this train is being loaded. And I'm going to decrement this counter by 1. Because we only need this train once. This station is active. I guess it's fine if the train leaves once it's done unloading. This is as it should be. Trash cycle is off. Everything's looking fine. We're going to wait for the train to deliver before we stamp down step 2 to complete this train down here, right? So what's happening here? And a small issue with the system is that, of course, right now these inserters are stuck waiting for the cliff explosive. And that's because this robopod detects that the cliff explosives are available in the robo network. If they weren't at all available because you're not producing them, it would get skipped. But as long as it's in the network, even if it is produced very slowly so that you only have one available at a time, that's very noticeable with modules. If you're calling for modules, instead of the modules being loaded as they arrive, the system is basically always stuck waiting for the module that currently need to be loaded the most of, if that module is in any shape or form available in the logistic network. So if you're producing, let's say, 1 module per second and you need 3,000 modules, you're basically stuck waiting for 3,000 seconds for those modules to be loaded, whereas the 3,000 other modules that you might need of the other type are already available and could be loaded, but that's not happening. So basically, if you want to fix that, the only way to do it really is to divorce the logistic network of the depot from your mall network, and instead have like a Schnittstelle, what's the English word? An interface that on one side you have request suggest, requesting the items that are set in the you can use this combinator over here. You can see this is all the loadout, the entire loadout across the train that you have requested, and you could use the output of this to request into requested chests over here what you want. Use inserters to move it over into active providers, and those are then moving it into the buffer chests or the storage chests here, right? That's basically how you could solve that issue, or you could just ignore it because it's not an issue forever, right? It's only an issue for as long as the production of items that you need, especially modules, that's the biggest annoyance. As soon as that production gets kicked off and you're actually producing, let's say, 100 modules per minute and more, then it's not really much of an issue anymore. What do we need here? More cliff explosives and the artillery wagons. Are you not producing cliff explosives? Did you handcraft the 5 of them? Did you handcraft your cliff explosives? Maybe that could be an issue. Let's just remove them from the loadout. Don't think we need them. The reason I'm just moving this back up is so that I can, once we have the train delivery in here, that we can just paste the step 2 over without having to hold down shift, which means I can check that the print is actually correct. Gonna take a moment for everything to be unloaded and re-add it back in. And by the way, these guys over here that I added, they take care of surplus materials being removed from the chest that can no longer load the train, so that it instead gets delivered to the single chest that still has priority on loading the train with the last few remainder items, right? That actually speeds up the loading by sometimes minutes. There we go. Train's being unloaded. We can now... Right, and the reason why I'm waiting so long for the step 2 print is because of this train being in the way of this train wanting to move into the station. So build your step 1, finish your step 1, get the items delivered for step 2, and only once the train is in here, then build then print step 2. And we need, this guy needs some rocket fuel, and I have none anymore, I think. Can't see any. Kick you into moving. I hope this one doesn't run out of power. So this one is basically now moving back home. I'll have to keep an eye on this train, whether or not it runs out of fuel before it gets into the outpost. Right, so that at least should work fine now. Still do need to upgrade your other outposts. That's one over here. Same story again. I guess we need the loadout number 2. Let's get one that we... What? Oh, I already copied it over, of course. There you go. Send the train. I forgot to turn on the trash cycle up there. we are going to turn you off. No, I need to first. There you go. This one first. Now the station is off. And then we need to reprint step 2 of it. Remove this train. I think that should be fine. Right. You might run into issues here with the setup. Wait. Yeah. You might run into issues here with the setup. Having uranium ammo. And that's something I'll fix down here. I forgot to check that up there. Right, so send for the train once more. Let's just have 2 trains, whatever. Once the train has unloaded here, we are going to and I do want rocket fuel. I think that's probably the reason why I'm running out, because I didn't think of just adding that in here. Yep. Alright, once our next train has unloaded here and we have our rocket fuel, and we... damn it. Well, it's already here, so that's fine. There we go. Step 2. Fix the loadout to not include there we go. Oh, almost forgot. I don't know if you actually have flamer turrets yet, if you're using everything else I imagine, except what's your status with the I don't know if you're building the advanced. Yes, you are. I think you are. I imagine you are. The advanced assemblers. Can't see them, but I imagine that you're building them. Yeah, here. Alright. That's fine, we can leave that, and everything else should form up over time. It didn't drop. Or maybe there was... We have no rocket fuel available at all. Do you have any other fuel? No, that would have been put into these guys by now. So we just remove this one once more. Or actually we don't need to. We can just wait for the train here. This supply station is still on. And we just wait for the train to come. One more time. Damn it. Ought to be a very quick load. What about rocket fuel? Yeah, there you go. So the rocket fuel should have been... Ah, okay, we already bought delivering. There you go. But that's what I was speaking about. The chest that can't load the train anymore get emptied, and it gets instead moved into the one chest that handles the remainder. And there you go. There's our rocket fuel. There we go, this one will go home, get itself loaded. And that's a bit too much. I might still need some later. Do you have another outpost? And since we're done here now with the initial setup, I'm going to activate the trash mode and just let that run. That's not used yet. Let's go up here. Okay. Did I? Yeah, all right. And you can go home to the depot. Right, that'll work. Yeah, that was manual, that's why I didn't. That's fine. So, let's see. Yep. Your email. Is it, before I wanted to ensure that I would have adequate train numbers. Having rail signals after the stackers effectively makes the stacker hold a higher capacity of trains. Yes, the idea is that for load stations, especially unload stations, should just move the trains through, but load stations, since they're always on, right? Load stations cannot turn themselves off unless you force that option on. Don't know if you noticed, but you have a small L here and a capital L here. If that's incorrect in your train schedule, which I'll check in a moment, you're gonna have issues there. First, let's just... So this one is no pathing. And that's because it went too far down. Why is this green? So that's the... Let's check if that happens anywhere else. This one should be red, right? Just like this one down here. Just like this one. So something, you did something here that messed up the signal. These have to stay red so that the trains do not pass beyond this signal unless they can go into the station, right? If they cannot go into the station because the station, so the station wants trains, but there are already 3 trains in it. Therefore, this signal, so as soon as you have 3 lights up here, turned on here, that means you have 3 trains in this entire system over here, which means this will turn red and will not admit any more trains. And the waypoint station over here will turn itself off, which means that a train waiting here will either try to go to another station of the same name, and the only station with the same name available is this one, the dummy station, but the dummy station cannot be approached because of these signals being permanently red, right? And that's the idea. The dummy station will then turn itself off as soon as this station is re-enabled, which means that any train that was waiting here now wants to go into the station, right? And if the train is obviously too far down, which was the case here because this signal was green for some reason, so the train had actually moved down here, it was obviously no pathing because it couldn't go up into the station anymore, right? It had nowhere to go. It can't keep going because the signal is red, so it can't visit this station, and it can't go in here because it's already too far down. So that's why this one needs to stay red, and this needs to be a chain signal, so the trains wait here at the chain signal until they are allowed into the station. Right, let's turn automatic back on. There we go. Oops. It is now moving, and you can see here every train counts up the counter. We have now three trains in the station. Therefore this station turns red, the waypoint station, because it can't admit any more trains until the next one leaves. So you can see here the train passes it. We now have three trains. Can't deal with it. Need to turn red, and every time this station turns red, this one turns on, and that's where the chain signal and the red signals down here come into play. Right, you can see the signal is red because both these are red and this one is red. And yeah, that's how it works. Right, it's obvious enough. Alright, let's see. And over here, these guys are on as long... Let's just walk there actually. And I really wish you had more legs. Just gonna cheat this, I guess. We need to unpause time. There we go. Time is unpaused. Right. So these guys only turn on if we do not have a... so this is a load station. So these guys only turn on if you do not have the corresponding unload station active. Do you have any crude oil unload station? Crude oil load. Is that intentional? Is that a loading? Yep, that's a loading station. Okay. Ow. And this is supposed to be a loading station too, right? Indeed it is. So far so good. Where do you need to unload your crude oil? Iron store. I really like how you just changed the... That's an awesome use of my blueprints, and I like it a lot. And I'm actually going to... So let's take a short break here, because we've spent enough time thinking here for a moment. Save. I'm just going to show you a quick trip into... here. Into what the next from the size is looking like. Ow. Repetitive strain injuries are painful if you don't take care of your posture on the mouse. Alright, so basically I'm going to condense this entire system. Actually it's this entire system. For unloading stations, I'm going to condense it into this, and you can put this just anywhere into your rail network, right? So this should fit more stations than this. Belts have space in the middle here. And I'm also sort of reworking the circuitry, so this should be a lot smoother in the future, or a lot smoother. It should work out a couple of the kinks I've noticed over the years, over the months, that I might want to fix. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm not... So the thing is that this is an unloading station at this point, and unloading stations generally have only the trains that are currently being served. Right, so the three trains basically. Usually in unloading stations, trains just move through. You don't need a stacker in unloading stations. So basically what I'm going to do is yeah, let's go back to your map. It's actually nicely visible there. Load game. So, you have any unload? Yeah. So basically you should be able to do away with all the stacker space here, right? This should all be able to be stations, actual stations. And the stations should be a little bit slimmer, so you should be able to, should probably be able to fit one more station in here. I'm not sure on that though. Don't nail me down on that number. And they're going to basically be connected directly to the rail network. So they'd basically be about this size, right? Roughly speaking. And you should be able to do away with all these stackers. So you should be able to save a lot of space there. Because as you can see, or you can't see in your case because your trains are all stuck at the loading stations. The loading stations is where you need the stackers, and the unloading stations is not where you should need any stackers. Right. Yeah, and I really do like what you've done here. You've just made proper use of the blueprints by not forcing outposts into your main base, right? You could say. It makes sense. You don't need the outpost if you already have all the items being produced locally. But there's some people who still succumb to the temptation of starting out with something like this and then building the stations in rows down there instead of doing it like you did. And this is really nice. I like it. Right, so we fixed the problem with the coal loading train, and you can see that they're basically now up here waiting for somewhere to go. Right, and they've got nowhere to go. And why is that? If any unload coal ore. The station is enabled. The waypoint is enabled. Let's see. So, yes. Load outbound waypoint, and we're basically waiting for the signal over here. And the signal will be given as soon as these guys turn themselves off. So why are they not turning off? We have a U, but we have no coal. Why do we have no coal? Coal symbol on the green wire. I'm sorry, messing around a little bit there. Coal or unload. Ouch, my arm. Coal or unload. Slightly in. Okay. Okay, just going to manually move over here. So, no pathing. Why are you no pathing? Coal. You're supposed to go to the coal unload. As are you. I figured that what you basically did is you built your trains in here instead of the load station. That is generally not an issue, but we need to figure out why they don't have a path here. We'll get to that in a moment. Coal. Unload. Unload. Let's just move these through the station essentially. Whoops. So far I see no reason why they should not be able to... Oh. Of course. Here you go. Yep. Right. All right. It should be correct now. Let's turn you into manual mode. There we go. Voila. Trains are moving through the station. So we have the coal signal available now. Where are we? Here. But for some reason the coal signal is not actually arriving. Why is that? Still no coal signal. Still no coal signal. No coal signal. No coal signal. Yeah, that's because you didn't connect the here. That's the reason, because you didn't connect the green wire to the global network. There you go. You should now have what's up with you guys? Come on. What happened with you? That's the first time I see trains now passing like this. I am not sure why they don't switch to the next station. If the station in their schedule turns itself off, we ought to get started on traveling to the next one. There's another no path. There we go. That's your coal train sorted, and the crude oil trains are doing their thing anyway. We just have a bunch of traffic here now. When you see something like this happening, where one train is blocking the how do you say, the exit of stackers, you need to replace these guys with chain signals, and it's something that you'll just see here and there happening. The blueprint does include the chain signals. The problem is that because of the way the whole thing looks, it's basically forced to. You're forced to do this manually, because I couldn't add another. I had no more space for signals basically after the rail signal that's here from printing the track. So that's the signal that you have to do manually, sadly. On the input side, can't actually see it here. I think, yeah, on the input side, I was able to make to add a second signal after the rail signal. So this is basically, you can see here, this is the normal power pole that you see with the normal distance to each other, and the rail signal is always on the, how would you say, falling edge of the power pole, right? It's always on the distant half of the power pole. But I did have space for another signal over here, and this is the space that is missing for the outbound stackers here, right? That's why you need to replace this with a manual signal. And over here, this one should have passed upwards instead of. Yeah, right, just like that. You can now see that these guys are actually moving as they're supposed to move. Generally speaking, I'm still kind of experimenting myself on this kind of stuff. Not too familiar with high traffic, high density rail networks, but this was the best that I was able to make with the trains actually properly moving. It's just that everything got kicked off at the same time here, so I'm guessing that's why we're seeing this kind of traffic here. Yeah, and basically we just need to wait for the trains to actually get done with their travels for the traffic jam to clear up a little bit. And I don't know if you have too many trains or not, but frankly the system should be able to handle it once everything has calmed down. Because most of the times your trains are going to be idle in the loading station, outbound stacker, or in the entire system over here, basically just waiting so that to leave. You can see over here it's happening. We currently don't need any crude oil anywhere, so the trains will stack up over here until eventually all the trains have been served that can fit into the crude oil, into the load station. And maybe you'll get some backlog into the stacker over here, depending on how many trains you have. Right? And once we have a crude oil unload station that needs crude oil, everything suddenly starts moving again. And if you only have one crude oil unload station, that's obviously going to be a huge wave all at once. But technically speaking, that should not be much of a thing. And over here we need the connection too. So this is in multiple spots where you didn't connect the stations to the global network. That should be connected up all the way, I think. No, we're missing some. Basically, you need to make sure that your global network has access to every station. Otherwise, you might end up with a system where the wrong station is turned on and the trains get stuck in that sense. This is just huge traffic jams here. In this case, you might be able to help it along somewhat by replacing some of these signals with rail signals, right? There is no need for these to be chain signals, for example, right? So your trains could start moving earlier and quicker, clear all these intersections a lot faster. Same up here, this doesn't need to be a chain signal. I'll figure it out, I guess. It's your map. That's nice. Yeah, I imagine that everything here is now connected. Yeah, I can see the global signals. Yes. Right now, originally the system here did not require a global connection, but because I wanted to be able to update the data banks from a global, from a central data bank provider, I needed to actually qualify that statement with, or it's not even qualified anymore. It's just now you do have to have global network connection everywhere. Otherwise, your system basically won't be able to tell. It's another one of those examples. Now we have data here. This is an unloading station and it's basically just full. That's why it can't serve any more trains. Which means that provided that you do not have another iron ore unload station somewhere, right, the stacker for the iron ore load will eventually fill up once all the iron ore unload stations have been served everywhere. There's another no path here. Did I miss this one somehow? What the fuck is happening here? Call or load outbound waypoint is turned off. Or is there another one that's... No, it shouldn't be. Call or load outbound. Call another call somewhere. That's here. Oh, these guys are turned on when they wait, unload. Sorry, I need to look for an right. These guys are turned on, but these guys are turned off. That's incorrect. You cannot have, or you should not have, these guys turned on when the other guys are turned off. That makes no sense. So yeah, this over here once again is missing connection to the global network somewhere. Right. I'm guessing that you probably deleted a power pole somewhere over here that ended up having that effect. It's too far. Well, these guys are inbound stuck as they don't need to be connected. So we can actually remove this. I was hoping to use this as a bridge somehow, but I can't quite reach there. So what we're going to do instead, simply this. There we go. This might be important. No, it shouldn't be important for power. Let's just remove this. And there we go. Call or unload, call or load outbound waypoint has turned itself off. Therefore, these guys should no longer be stuck. No pathing. Except there's probably another one somewhere that's on. Let's see. Copper ore, iron ore. Crude oil load outbound waypoint. By the way, this is where you will see the spread of trains between the two crude oil stations you have, right? You have one here and you have another one here, right? And your trains actually split up between them. You didn't have all the trains stuck in one system, right? So it's proof that the train spread between stations works without really complicated routing and stuff, forcing trains to split up using circuitry conditions. Instead, you can do it with the path penalty system. So that shows that it really works. But what I don't understand is why this guy is still no pathing. Let's just have you move on for a moment. What happens to you? So you get loaded. Yeah, alright, now it's working. It was just a final train that I needed to wake up again. I think that fixed it. You have a lot of congestion over here. Just a bunch of trains that have could be... These guys want to move. What's happening here? Generally speaking, you want to avoid these switches. They seem to cause a lot of issues for me. Hey, get in. There you go. If you want to have these switches, then you need to probably replace this with chain signals, I think. That might fix the situation for you. Because these keep switching tracks. If you want to have one, have a single one, only one, right? Remove all but one of these switches. That way trains will switch into the track that they need to go once, but they will not switch out of it until they're at the destination, right? And that's why if you want a switch, have only a single one. That should prevent a lot of this confusion that's probably locking up your trains completely unnecessarily at some place. So you want to go straight, but you cannot because this train is here. And you cannot go straight because this train is here. And you cannot go because this train is here. And on and on and on. So you're probably wanting to go up, no, in here. And you are wanting to go in here, but you can't because this train is in the way. It's an example of failed signaling there. Right, so basically what you need to do now is you need to look through your entire rail system and decide where you need to change out more chain signals for rail signals to get your trains moving fast and earlier, and where you might need to remove switches, and where you might need to maybe use circuit conditions as I have done here. So this is one of the systems where it's basically, this is the outbound sucker, right? And trains can only move out of it. They cannot come down here. So this, all this signal does is it reads backwards, right? It checks all the way back to this intersection here. If there's a train in here or anywhere along here, this signal turns the signal red, which means that the trains have to dodge up here if they want to keep going. And you can use tricks like these everywhere in your rail network if you want to make sure that you have no useless trains stopping somewhere they shouldn't be stopping. And there we have an issue of a deadlock. So yeah, I thought that this rail signal was actually for this track, but it isn't, so let's do this. No, it just resolved itself. Well, that's fine. Right, and you can just go. And yeah, I made some changes to this rail network myself too, here and there, which is why I know that sometimes the signaling, especially if you have something as tight as this, right? It could lead to issues that you need to fix with proper signaling here and there. It's always basically a dance between how far can you go with only using rail signals, which allow your trains to move faster, right? Because they don't have to wait for as many block segments in a row as they would have with chain signals. And how far do you need to preserve safety using chain signals to prevent deadlocks? It's always a little bit of a balance, and you'll just have to see what you can figure out. But you can see that generally speaking, our trains are moving now. This is the problem with the roundabouts. It's stopping unrelated trains. Why is this one not moving? Right, because there's a rail signal missing here, so a little bit of extra landfill to fix that, to add another rail signal here, will prevent this situation from happening, because this train is completely unrelated from this train, right? But it couldn't move because you're missing rail signals here and there. Yeah, but I guess you fucked up your spacing somewhere. Oh well. Can probably fix that yourself, I guess. The train's moving now. Generally speaking, yep. Are we stuck here waiting for this train? Oh, yeah. Right, it's just basically a lot of trains, probably more than you need. It's probably slowing down your trains unnecessarily, and there's a point where having too many trains leads you to congestions that basically end up with you thinking that you need even more trains to fix that situation, where actually what you need is less trains, so that you don't get these congestions. And one of the major causes of your congestions are all these roundabouts. So what you can do is you can really figure out where you don't need chain signals to get your trains to move more independently, and where you might not actually want any roundabouts at all, right? I tend to use as many of these intersections as I can rather than roundabouts. So sadly I lost I lost my big save. I know, let's save that first. Save game, New Hope, so I can share that with you. I hope I'm recording this. Yes, I am. So what I started doing is I have every save basically 3 times, and I always make sure that when I save in 2 slots, because I lost a save after hundreds of hours putting into it by accidentally saving over the wrong save with a double click. So this is basically my new base. I just started a few hours ago, you could say. I don't know how many hours I've put into this now. It's actually, I'm going very slow here. I'm taking a lot of time to get going, and I am going to update to the new rail system before I finish this setup. But this is basically the unload for my science. Over here is my science, right? I'm using a setup that converts raw ore into science packs, and I need to replace the local fields with so if you, I don't know if you know this, but what I basically use is this tessellite setup. I have a smaller one for my ores. That's basically the most condensed setup that I know, right? It uses three tiles without a mine on it, right? That's the 2 underground belts and the 1 pole for every 3 miners. And that's the most condensed, most dense setup that I know of. Yeah, so this is my base. I have my mall over here. When building everything, I have belt-based malls over here. My ammo shop. This is Nilaus hub, slightly changed by me. And I basically, back to the roundabouts, I try to use roundabouts as little as possible. This is going to eventually be a four-way intersection, not a roundabout, right? I just used one there for now because it's cheap. But actually what I want to do is I do not want resource trains moving across this intersection where my depot is. So what I'll do instead is I'll probably break this up, or break this connection here. And instead I will have all the trains moving from this side, right? Basically, this is not going to be a main thoroughfare with the roundabout in it. This is going to be just for my builder trains and artillery trains and stuff like that. And the trains that feed resources are going to come in from over here, from across all the various fields that I might need. All right. This is something that I have to check out. This might be biters. All right. Thanks for watching. I think I fixed your system. Mostly it was that you had failed to connect every station to and the stacker down here to the global network. Is this connected now? Yes. All right. That's very important. As long as you don't have global connectivity everywhere, you're going to run into the issues that you did. I updated your depot to the newest prints. I updated your outpost to the newest prints. You can just go into the first video on the playlist and check for the changelog if you want to know if it has updated. And use that to sorry, I'm kind of tired. And use that to check if you need to update, get your, there's a link there that'll put you into the, yeah, you get the idea. I usually also post information on what you need to know to update your local stations. So for example, in this case, I had to, as you saw, I had to delete some stuff and then reprint over it, and the new system uses the C signal for collision instead of the I signal. I use, or the info signal, I used it as, when I started this whole system, the info signal was basically a idea that info signal means beware, something happened here, there's information here, check what's going on. But really all you need is the C signal for collision and the info signal for information requests. And everywhere you see this, you need to, you know that this is something that requests information or sends information. And you can just mouse over the combinators, and if you see here, there should be something, like this should be full with information if it were empty, like this, right? If it were empty like this and you had no output, you'd know that it probably doesn't have connectivity to the global network. I think that's everything. I can't think of anything else you might need to know. Over here, once again, you have the I signal. So there's, again, one of those memory banks that request information from the central data bank. You have the same over here and over here. It's basically almost anywhere. It's every station has it, right? It's there in every station. So based on that, you can see whether or not you have your where's the memory? Here. The one with the loop is the memory, right? You can see that you have your information here and everything is working as it should. And that was your core issue, really. Along with a little bit of rail signaling here and there, and it's far from done. You need to probably remove a couple of these switches here. Have only one if you need a switch. Do we still have a lot of... Now you can see that mostly your traffic jam has actually completely cleared up and your trains are starting to are mostly starting to load into the stations and wait in the stations until they actually have... Okay, so this is a problem. You have too many trains here. The trains are extending out. This is one of those examples where you just have too many trains or not enough stations to serve this amount of trains. You should probably be able to safely remove a couple of these copper load trains. Basically, 3 trains per station, per loading station, should do it. And the stacker is there to catch any surplus. If all the trains ended up in one station, the stacker should be able to satisfy that. If it looks like this, it's fine. And once again, you can afford more trains. In this case, you could afford more trains. The question is if you actually need it. The trash cycle was active, and the trash cycle in here was also active. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, I think that they did a couple too many trains. You need to delete a couple and you'll be fine. Remove a couple of the roundabouts, make more four-way intersections. These have a lot more, these can carry a lot more trains than your roundabouts. Many more trains. You can fix up roundabouts by replacing some of the chain signals with rail signals. But generally it's better not to use many roundabouts if you can help it. I tend to use roundabouts only at the, like this over here. This is a good roundabout. This is how I use them, right? This one is already questionable, but it's suppose you can leave it in there because not many trains are getting stopped by this roundabout. This is not causing any jams, so leave this one, right? This one is perfect. These are okay because of the oblique the unusual angles you need. This one, I suppose, could be a normal intersection, 3-way intersection or something, but who cares? This one is good. That's fine. That's not good. Right, this is not good. This is really not good. There's too many roundabouts in one spot. That'll cause a lot of traffic jam. This one's questionable. This one's okay. Yeah, right. You know what to do. Need to update this. All right. There we go. Thanks for watching.